You know that moment when you're in the carpool line, kids arguing in the back seat, your mental to-do list growing by the second, and suddenly you realize it's been weeks since you actually felt God close. You pray, of course, between red lights, between folding laundry and making dinner, but it feels like your words hit the ceiling of your living room and bounce back empty. I want to talk with you today about something every woman of faith has faced, but we rarely say out loud: God's silence. That silence that feels like abandonment, that makes you wonder if he really hears, if he still cares, if you did something that pushed him away. And before we go any further, if this conversation is touching something you've been feeling, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel and share this video with that friend who needs to hear this too, because no one should walk this journey alone. So let me ask you this: what if this silence isn't what you think it is? What if what feels like the end of your story is just God turning the page to start a new chapter? Have you ever had one of those nights when you just can't sleep? Not because of a crying baby or your worry list, but because your heart is restless. You lie in bed, your husband already asleep, the house finally quiet, and that's exactly when everything surfaces. The doubts, the fears, that feeling of just surviving, not living. It must have been on one of those nights that Hannah wept. You remember her? The woman who wanted a child so badly that she went to the temple and prayed with such intensity the priest thought she was drunk. She knew God's silence well. Year after year praying, crying, waiting, and nothing. Meanwhile, her husband's other wife had child after child and even mocked her. Picture the scene: Hannah in the kitchen, making breakfast, hearing her rival's children playing in the yard. Every laugh, a stab to the heart. Every mommy that wasn't for her, a reminder of the emptiness. But here's what Hannah understood, and what you need to understand too. Watching doesn't mean having all the answers. Watching means keeping your eyes on the right place, even when it seems like no one is looking back. Think about it. When your child is sick at night, you don't sleep deeply, right? You stay in that light sleep, ear tuned to any different sound. It's not paranoia. It's vigilant love. It's intentional care. God is calling you to this kind of spiritual vigilance. Not that religious tension that leaves you exhausted, always thinking you need to do more, pray more, be more, but that loving attention that says, Lord, I don't understand what you're doing, but my eyes are on you. My heart is awake to your voice. You know what's beautiful about this? You can practice this vigilance while folding clothes, while driving, while waiting in the grocery store line. Spiritual vigilance isn't about adding one more thing to your already impossible list. It's about transforming your entire life into a continuous conversation with God. When you're there, hands in soapy water washing the dinner dishes for the 1000th time, and you whisper, Lord, I'm tired, but I'm here. Speak to me. That's vigilance. That's living faith in the middle of real-life chaos. But let me warn you about something important. Not every danger arrives screaming. Some arrive with a coffee cup in hand and an inspiring message on Instagram. Have you noticed how easy it is to spend an hour scrolling your feed, seeing spiritual messages that seem so beautiful, so positive, but when you stop to think, they have nothing of Christ? That idea that you are the universe experiencing itself, or that post that says, trust your heart, it knows the way. Pretty, isn't it? But completely opposite to what the Bible teaches. Jeremiah 17:9 is pretty direct. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? Your heart is not your reliable GPS, friend. It deceives you. It leads you down paths that seem right, but end in destruction. Let me give you a very practical example. You're exhausted. The kids demanded everything from you today. Your husband came home late again and barely talked. You feel invisible, unvalued. And then that message appears. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to prioritize yourself. If something doesn't bring you peace, eliminate it from your life. Sounds sensible, doesn't it? But wait. Is this message calling you to die to yourself and live for Christ? Is it reminding you that the gospel is about the cross before it's about the crown? Or is it subtly inviting you to make your happiness an idol, to put your feelings above commitment, to choose what's easy instead of what's right? The enemy is clever. He won't show up with horns and a pitchfork saying, come sin with me. He'll use spiritual language, quote verses out of context, wrap poison in pretty paper. That's exactly what he did with Eve. Did God really say? An innocent question, a doubt planted. God knows that when you eat of it, you'll be like him, half-truth wrapped in a seductive lie. And Eve, without watching, without confronting that thought with what God had actually said, fell. You need to guard your mind. This isn't optional, it's essential. Every thought that enters, every message you consume, every advice you hear, needs to pass through the filter. Is this aligned with God's word? Does this draw me closer to Christ or pull me away from him? When you feel alone and that voice whispers God has abandoned you, you confront it with truth. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. When discouragement says, you're not good enough, you answer with the promise, he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1-6. But here's the most beautiful thing of all. 3 in the morning. You get up for the 4th time to check on the baby with a fever. Your body begs for rest, but your mother's heart won't allow it. You place your hand on the hot forehead, whisper a prayer, adjust the blanket. You know what's happening in that moment. In heaven, Jesus is doing the same thing for you. He's interceding. He's standing before the Father saying, she is mine. I died for her. Cover her with my righteousness. Romans 8:34 says, this in a way that should make you stop everything right now and cry with relief. Who then is the one who condemns? No one. Christ Jesus, who died more than that, who was raised to life, is at the right hand of God and is also interceding for us. Do you understand what this means? While you struggle, Christ struggles for you. While you cry, he presents your tears as incense before the Father. While you feel too weak to pray, the Holy Spirit translates your groans into perfect intercession. You are never, never alone in this watch. You know that temptation that's coming tomorrow. Jesus already prayed for you today. You know that battle you don't even know you'll face next week. He's already prepared the way out. You know that moment when you'll want to give up. He's already there, waiting to hold you. It's like when your toddler learns to walk. You're there, arms open, ready to catch if he falls. You let him try, let him learn, but you never, never take your eyes off him. You're watching with love. Christ does this for you, but in an infinitely more perfect way. He doesn't blink. He doesn't get distracted. He doesn't sleep. Psalm 121 puts it this way. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. So on those nights when you're awake at 3 in the morning, alone with your worries, remember this. Your watchman is also awake. He sees that tear you hid in the bathroom. He knows that fear you can't name. He knows exactly what you need even before you ask. And there's one more beautiful thing. Have you ever noticed that we never see stars in daylight? They're there. They've always been there. But we can only see them when night falls. The darker the night, the brighter the stars. God's promises work exactly like this. When everything's going well, when life is comfortable, when you have control over everything, God's promises are beautiful, but they're not essential. That when night falls, when the diagnosis comes, when the budget doesn't balance, when the marriage is crumbling, when you're so exhausted you can barely breathe, that's when the promises start to shine. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. You've read that verse 1,000 times, but on a dark night, it shines differently. It's not just poetic, it's your oxygen. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28. This promise seems almost offensive when you're in the middle of pain. But wait, it doesn't say everything is good. It says everything works together. That God is weaving even the torn parts of your story into a pattern that will still make sense. Think about Joseph, sold as a slave by his own brothers at 17, working in someone else's house, falsely accused of assault, thrown in prison, forgotten there for years. Where was God? Why this silence? Why so much injustice for a young man who was just trying to do right? But look at what Joseph said years later, when he finally understood the full picture. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50-20. During those years of slavery and prison, Joseph didn't see the purpose. He didn't know that God was setting the stage to save him. save his family, save an entire nation from famine. He only had the promises. He only had the choice to keep trusting in the dark. And you? What promise has God already given you that's waiting to shine? Maybe it's that word someone spoke over you years ago that seems more distant every day. Maybe it's that certainty you had in a moment of prayer. Maybe it's simply the basic, fundamental promise that he will never abandon you. Hold on to that promise, even when it seems dim, even when it seems impossible. Stars don't stop existing just because you can't see them yet. And here's the best part. No night is permanent. No matter how long it is, no matter how cold and scary it seems, dawn always comes. Always. You know why? Because the earth keeps spinning. It doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter what's happening. The rotation doesn't stop. The sun is there, faithful, waiting its turn to appear again. God is like this. Lamentations 3:22-23 guarantees it. Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Every morning. Not every month when you finally deserve it. Not every year when you fixed everything. Every morning. New mercies. New breath. New chance. Did you wake up today? That's the first mercy. Did your lungs fill with air? Second mercy. Are your children breathing? Third, fourth, fifth. Before you even brush your teeth, God has already poured out countless mercies on you. But let me tell you something that can change everything. Dawn doesn't come all at once. Have you noticed? First comes that almost imperceptible light on the horizon, then a band of color, then the first rays touch the clouds, and then, slowly, the sun appears completely. God's answers are like this. He rarely turns on all the lights at once. He prefers gradual dawn, a small change here, a heart that begins to heal there, a door that opens, an unexpected provision, a peace that doesn't make sense in the circumstances. You're waiting for the midday sun, but God has already started the dawn. That prayer that was answered in a way you almost didn't notice. First ray. That moment of peace in the middle of chaos. Light on the horizon. That strength you didn't know you had. The sun is rising, friend. You just need to pay attention. And you know what else? The sun doesn't rise because you did everything right. It doesn't rise because you prayed beautifully or had enough faith. The sun rises because it's faithful to its nature. And Christ, the Son of Righteousness, cannot deny himself. He is faithful because of who he is, not because of who you should be. Malachi 4:2 brings a beautiful image. But for you who revere my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its rays. Healing, not condemnation. Not, you should have done better. Healing. Christ comes with restoration, with renewal, with new beginnings. That marriage that seems dead, he brings resurrection. That relationship with your teenage son that seems lost, he brings reconciliation. That area of your life where you failed so many times you don't even try anymore, he brings grace to start again. So now I need to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest, even if it's just between you and God. Do you really believe he's still writing your story? Or have you already decided how it's going to end? How many times have you taken the pen from God's hand and tried to write the next chapter alone? How many times have you decided that you've waited long enough, that you need to make it happen, that God had his chance and now it's up to you? I understand. Waiting is one of the hardest things God asks us to do, especially in a culture that teaches us that waiting is wasting time, that if you want something, you go get it, that you are the author of your own story. But what if you're not? What if the greatest danger isn't God's silence, but your rush to fill that silence with your own words? Sarah did this. God had promised a son. She waited until she thought it was impossible. And then she decided to help God. Here, Abraham, go to my servant. Let's make this son happen our way. And it happened. Ishmael was born. But he wasn't the promise. And that decision not to wait created a conflict that echoes to this day, thousands of years later. Did God fulfill the promise his way? Yes. Sarah had Isaac. But imagine how much pain, how much conflict, how much anguish could have been avoided if she had simply trusted God's timing. Are you trying to make an Ishmael? Forcing an answer, creating a solution, taking a shortcut because God's way is taking too long? Let me tell you something with all love. Put down the pen. Hand over the torn pages. Stop trying to fix the plot alone. God is a much better author than you are. He sees chapters you can't even imagine. He's weaving threads that seem loose into a tapestry that will still take your breath away. Isaiah 55:8-9 puts it this way: "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Isaiah 50 farts and Lord, as the heavens are higher than the earth, my thoughts than your thoughts. For the thanaithis this way. Nene are ways and my that are your ways, my ways. Is the heaven the hell? Not just different, higher, better, wiser, more complete. So the invitation today is simple, but profound. Trust again. Even if everything seems stuck, even if you don't understand, even if it hurts, trust that God is moving the invisible, that He's working behind the scenes, that He hasn't forgotten your name, that the story isn't over. Give Him the commas you think should be periods. Give Him the pauses that make you impatient. Give Him even the pages you think were wasted. Because God is the master at transforming pain into testimony, ashes into beauty, mourning into dancing. And He's not finished writing your story yet. Maybe you're hearing this and your heart is screaming, "Yes, this is exactly what I needed to hear." Or maybe you're struggling to believe because the night has been too long. Wherever you are today, I want you to know, you're not alone. Christ is watching. The Spirit is interceding. The Father is writing. And community matters too. That's why I want to invite you to leave a comment down below. Tell me, what has God been teaching you in this season of waiting? What promise are you holding on to in the dark? What star is shining for you right now? Let's make this space a place of mutual encouragement. Because when one woman of faith shares her story, she lights a lamp for another who's still walking in darkness. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Hit that bell, because here you'll find, every week, words that remind you of who God is, even when you forget who you are. The night may be long, friend, but the author of your story still has the pen in his hand. And the ending He's preparing, it's going to be so much better than anything you could have imagined. Trust, just a little longer. Dawn is coming.